quick clearing on dense maps and fairly mobile on lower density maps, this Typhon's Veil Hydra build presents a strong face as the first entry in the Nephalem Rifting category for patch 2.6.10. Typhon's Veil is also the starter set for Wizard in Season 22, and this build will make a great entry for next season's start. We fitted an extra multiplier or two. We have Fragment of Destiny, Serpent Sparker, the Magistrate, Squirt's Necklace, and the Orb of Infinite Depth, all while keeping Tasker and Theo for the increased Hydra attack speeds. This inclusion of more multipliers makes this build very powerful, able to tackle T16 fairly readily at lower paragons while requiring very little relative effort to activate them. Fragment of Destiny being the only stack-based mechanic. Fragment of Destiny's spectral buff stacks per signature attack, per projectile, per speed coefficient, per target hit. Attacks that pierce can stack multiple times if they hit more than one target. Attacks that chain or have secondary projectiles can also stack multiple times. It has a 6-second duration. When we choose our signature, we want something that fits all of these items, and the best skill for this is Electrocute Lightning Blast. It pierces and travels fast, and has a speed coefficient of 2, meaning we can get the most value out of the spell for both stacking the spectral buff quickly and reliably. The largest downside of this choice is that the Lightning Blast itself is a rather small attack, meaning you have to direct your targets exactly where they want to go, or direct your attacks where you want them to hit, right? Alternate choices that also fared well include Magic Missile Split and the Piercing Orb Rune of Shock Pulse. While Electrocute Chain Lightning looks good on paper, this spell actually requires that the wizard hits an initial target exactly with their cursor, making it a good but hard to use option. Therefore, in Nephalem Rifts, we don't want to use it, basically. Toughness for this Nephalem Rifting build is provided via damage reduction items, the Halo of Karini, and the Orb of Infinite Depth. Because Explosive Blast has a cooldown, and that cooldown is rather long, we run cooldown reduction on the shoulder piece and the ring in an optimal scenario, a diamond on the helmet, and evocation to increase our chances of keeping this buff active. This will give us quite a bit of cooldown reduction. CDR affixes don't need to be highly rolled. In fact, earlier in season, if you are missing these entirely, the build will still function, which is pretty cool. However, we want to shoot for about 40 to 46% CDR to be able to lower this cooldown, right? And be able to increase our uptime. Earlier in season, we dropped the CDR affix from the ring to be able to place attack speed here, to be able to make sure that we hit our attack speed breakpoints, even if our attack speed rolls are not perfected, right? For resource cost reduction, I recommend either the weapon or the shoulder affix. Preferred the weapon because the shoulder on Typhon's Veil is rather quirky. It rolls plus armor as a default, making it very hard to actually get a resource cost reduction on there, because you already want cooldown and Hydra damage on the shoulder piece. Getting the resource just makes it all the much harder, especially at lower paragons. So I'd prefer the weapon, put resource cost reduction there, and then you're golden, right? So let's see. We don't need quite as much RCR here for about 2 reasons. Firstly, our spenders are all very low cost. We're running, just Hydra, Explosive Blast. These are pretty low. And we're also running the Wormhole Rune on Teleport. So even though we have Aether Walker, which is going to cost quite a lot of arcane power, this basically halves the cost of teleports. So it's really, really efficient, especially when you combine it with power, all of these with Power of the Storm, right? The cost reductions there. Secondly, we're using the Shema del Seer for arcane power restoration. And our attack speed with our signature spells, having both Shame and Fragment in the build, means we're just generating arcane power ridiculously fast. That being said, if you feel you need more resource cost reduction, you can replace the Vitality or the Life % affix that you have on your shoulder piece in the Higher Paragon setup here with an additional resource cost reduction affix, giving up to 25% thereabouts total. It's very important that we hit our 30 FPA breakpoint with Hydra. Luckily, when I say 30 FPA, I mean frames per attack, so here's the 30 frames. Luckily, Tasker and Theo helps out greatly in this endeavor, increasing the attack speed of our pets by up to 50%, requiring only 1.8495 attacks per second, assuming our Tasker and Theo is 50% rolled. As the legendary roll from this item decreases, 49, 48, 47, 46, the required attack speed to hit this 30 FPA breakpoint will increase by tiny amounts. The lowest legendary affix that you can have on a worn Tasker and Theo would be 46%. This level of attack speed will require perfected attack speed affixes on gear otherwise, plus having the Enchantress. Attack speed is such that you can drop the Enchantress and run with more perfected affixes, which is pretty neat. This will let you still hit the 30 FPA and run in a group setting, for example. Or I would more likely recommend, if you're having issues finding a Tasker and Theo, just cube it. I mean, that's what I would recommend earlier in season as well. The Magistrate, while it is a multiplier, and having your multipliers as high as possible is always good, this particular build, we've put a lot of multipliers into it, so our Hydras will already be dealing a lot of damage. So even if you, say, had like a 275% Magistrate instead of 300, you're only losing about 6.67% DPS, whereas if you were to drop a breakpoint on your Hydras for whatever reason, you could lose as much as 20% DPS going down to the 36 FPA breakpoint. This is wrong, by the way. This should be Tasker and Theo. There we go. Yay! Editing in person. All right. Defensively, affix-wise, it's very important to have Vitality on both the helmet and the source, because these are some of your largest gains or most efficient places to put them. At least one life % affix aside from the belt is recommended. You could put this on either the chest piece or on the shoulder piece. This is later on in season, so just doesn't have to be immediate, but later on when you have like more perfected gearing, that's what you want to get. Going to want to shoot for at least one of those life % affixes. This is to help scale up your shielding via the Galvanizing Ward passive and the Magic Weapon Deflection skill. Both of these give you shielding based on life, percentage of life, as you, after 5 seconds or as you attack. And this one's going to be the more important one, Magic Weapon Deflection, because we are attacking so quickly with our signature spells, and also casting Frost Hydra, teleporting, or casting Explosive Blast will also generate deflection stacks while we're moving, so that's pretty cool. This is all mostly in an effort, all this shielding, to maintain our Squirt's multiplier, because if we take damage, this goes down, of course. So 2 times multiplier, very important. Hydra % affixes on gear are also very important. Getting the source, the chest piece, and the... I don't know why I don't have it here. That's really weird. The shoulder piece, having the Hydra damage is going to be very important, because Hydra damage is a multiplier. It's not additive like it is for most builds. So skill damage usually goes and adds in with your damage increase by skills category. With Hydra, it's different. It's actually multiplied in, so it's even more valuable in this case. Once you start to get more perfected attack speed affixes, you can squeeze in a cooldown reduction affix into your ring slot. And you could swap it around. It could be between your rings and your gloves, just have 2 attack speed affixes and 1 cooldown reduction affix once you get more perfected gearing. For a little bit extra mobility, we're running Illusionist for the 30% move speed, even though we have the Aether Walker. This will let us kind of pick up items a little bit easier, kind of move around in between our teleports a little bit more, reposition our Hydras perhaps. We have to get a better angle sometimes, right? This is helping to reduce the Wormhole rune, also is helping to reduce the global cooldown of teleport once every other cast, helping mobility as well. Secondary affixes for this build will favor gold percent and plus pickup radius affixes. We run the Avarice Band and the Boon of the Hoarder combination to get huge increased pickup radius for gold and progression orb collection, and also giving us the movement speed from the Boon of the Hoarder, also really important. And yeah, so that's about it for this build. It's highly mobile, it's going to be a great starter next season, and I'm very excited to bring it to you. I'm currently on the fence on whether I'll be starting Wizard or Necromancer next season. I guess we'll kind of just see whether I decide one way or the other. But in the least, knowing that I'll have like a nice easy build to configure for like an early season Wizard Nephalem Rifting build is really convincing. Like, this build has me kind of excited. So hope you all enjoy it and take care. Thank you.